welcome to another episode of the P114 Filmmakers podcast. This is season 2, episode 13. I'm one of your hosts, Jesse Knight.
I'm Randall Lanier.
Tyler Schulte.
Aiden Ford.
Cat Holmes.
And we're here to talk about all things filmmaking. Today, we're going to try and center this around the extremely broad subject of location or settings or, and it can involve anything like So what comes to your mind when you think of locations in movies and the importance and all that kind of stuff? Kat, you kind of came up with this, not to put you in the hot seat here right from the get-go, but you sort of came up with this concept. So what were you thinking about?
For some reason, I always think of The Hobbit because, New Zealand, no one really thought about it, but it does look like this whole nother different, beautiful world.
Yeah, that last that last word you said, world, like world building. Creating a construct that doesn't exist, but making it believable to the viewer and whoever witnesses the story or something like that's pretty important. Right off the bat, in that same kind of vein, I think of Star Wars. Like that's totally, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, that ain't Earth. It's not Kansas or anything like that. You're somewhere else, and you have to buy it. It's kind of one of the reasons probably why studios might have been apprehensive about sci-fi stuff and fantasy stuff even back then was because they didn't think they could create it without spending a lot of money making it like believable. Would be my sort of guess. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think that you're right about that because a lot of the sci-fi stuff was all filmed on sets and stuff like that back during a long period of time ago, whatever type of thing. Wizard of Oz for that,
right?
All on stage.
Oh yeah.
It was never location shoots or anything like that.
Right. I'd say Wizard of Oz kind of was an exception to the rule. Was it successful when it came out?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't want to say that, but it
cool.
wouldn't be surprised if I found out that wasn't at first, but then it got really popular.
Especially with the color.
They all I hate color. What is this?
It could happen, yeah.
They better not do this from now on.
Right.
Go back to black and white.
Probably, they probably liked color, but that could be very much the case. I know they didn't like sound. People
did the audience know that was going to happen? Or was that one of the big surprises of that film?
I don't know.
It was about that one guy that was sitting there and he was like, y'all seen this too, right?
Yeah. So much of, I guess you could say that any story that you, even whether it's in a book or a comic book or a movie or TV show, has some sort of construct within it. Whether it's this kind of trying to mirror real life as much as possible, a lot of stuff bends that way, or it can kind of lean away from that. And you can go to like sci-fi and fantasy, but you can even go out into the weird kind of, almost like abstract art form version of filmmaking, if you so desire, into the scary territory where nothing makes sense. Nothing holds together, there's no construct, and everything in between. So, and different probably things work for different people. Like some movies I think of more of like how something looks, but like almost like a place. Like honestly, when I think of Lawrence of Arabia, I don't think of anything in England. I don't think of him in offices or anything like that. I see the desert, framed really nicely, sun over here, maybe something small in the background, but just like that,
If I think of Star Wars: A New Hope,
yeah.
I think of Tatooine, like you just said.
Yeah.
That automatically, if somebody says that movie, that automatically goes that more than later on when they're on Death Star or anywhere else or whatever type thing.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. When I think of it, and even it's kind of interesting. If I really think about it, all three of those early, the first trilogy from Star Wars. You got the first one, Tatooine, definitely. Maybe Death Star, Tatooine. But that Tatooine stuff, which is part of the hook. The first stuff you see, it's got you, hook and mouth, and there's was it 2 moons or 2 suns?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, double exposure.
That must be hot, man.
Yeah. 230 degrees, something like that.
Does that mean when you're driving down the road, the sun reflection? and you can't look. Does that mean this one's coming this way? So now you're like,
Ah! There's all kinds of problems.
why would I live
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Tatooine's kind of not over.
That's why you notice they didn't have a lot of people there.
I'm writing George a tweet.
They were on the plans.
Explain
We got
me
moved. We got moved to the
The
plans.
way the suns work. In
It's
this
the place where the
planet.
giant slugs rule,
Yeah.
so it's sort of but the second one, Empire Strikes Back, I immediately think of Hoth. I think of the
I say,
Frozen
when
planet.
I always think
do,
Hoth.
you know, yeah.
That's the one that comes to my head.
Because of the AT-ATs, the big battle, you know, it's sort of hook too, for me anyway.
Yeah.
I sort of think about that.
I always think of, I mean, it's a location. I give you say that being in
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon.
They were
There was a lot of
the second
time
act was
of
in
that.
the Millennium
Yeah.
Falcon, yeah, and then
So
at
that's
the
why I
end you're at Cloud City.
Yeah.
But, no, yeah,
that's
total.
that's automatic. You know, when I think of
I
that.
did not
You're
like
right.
Cloud City. I just kept thinking how horrifying
Totally
it is.
is.
You were just way up there. You're like,
I'm just kidding.
you're like, I'm on a cloud.
Yeah. And the third one, of course, I think of Tatooine first, and then Endor. You know.
I think of Endor more probably than that.
Yeah.
That's,
I'd never
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
dude. I'd never go to Endor. Those bears would probably eat me
They'll
alive.
eat you, man.
you don't have the two.
Unless you got some crackers. If you got some crackers on you or some snacks.
But you don't have to.
Here's a Snicker.
Hey, people left Tatooine. They want to get away from
Yeah.
those two suns, and they moved to Endor.
Yeah.
They don't have two suns there.
I realize how like kind of creepy the ending is. Though it's all happy, but the one bear's like hitting helmets.
The
Yeah.
empty
I'm like,
helmets.
why are they empty? As a kid, I was like, oh, it's so happy.
They
Now I'm
just-
like,
Because they
oh.
ended.
They all joined the rebellion. They took their helmets off and they're partying.
I'm
That's
sure
what's happening.
There we
they're in
go.
that bat cage
Those guys joined.
hanging like this. And they're like,
Well, I mean, they were vicious. The Ewoks were vicious. They were gonna kill Han and all that.
They're
They were gonna eat
all.
them.
Yeah.
like, who's
Put them on the fire and eat them.
oh.
Yeah.
If Leia hadn't been like.
It's funny though how our
Marcus.
brains don't want us.
Yeah,
Because as a
you're like,
kid,
no.
I'm not thinking I am,
Yeah.
but I'm not at the
Yeah.
same time.
It's just a cute,
Well, I mean,
innocent
they made it
fight.
kind of little humorous too, where they had the
It's
fire,
how cartoons
Han Solo
can get
blowing
away
at the
with
fire,
it.
you know, that kind of
Little
thing.
did we
Yeah.
know
That,
behind
it's
the
just
scene
little-
when we're watching it, you know, we just see them like the cute fighting.
Uh-huh.
If you look in the distance, you see one guy's leg get ripped off.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, wait, what's happening in the background?
What's that group of them doing over there?
Yeah.
Getting closer, like, oh god.
You know, I wish they would have done. I wish they would have had like a bigger size one.
Uh-huh.
He was like the big guy, you know.
Yeah.
Just takes out everybody.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
Are we still talking about Star Wars?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
I
He's
got
evolved
sorry.
into
I'm
Star
just
Wars.
Sorry.
He doesn't care.
No, it's okay. I think
Sorry.
I'm the only
But
non-Star Wars
world,
fan here.
world building. What
Yeah.
can you say about location
Yeah.
and, and stuff like that? What comes to mind? And you can be broad about it. What is it? What's important about it? What's
I think it's probably like one of the most important things
Uh-huh.
because, especially if you've got something that's got a lot of visual, everything matches it. Everything about the story
Mhm.
just adds a lot of. I don't know how to. I'm not good with my words. It just
Atmosphere.
yeah.
It's layers.
yeah. Thank you, Kat. And
It's a different character.
yeah, and I think that the location brings out the story the best.
right.
It just it's more
Puts you
pleasing.
there.
Yeah, and so if you get the right location, which is really important, because I mean, when I think of location, also I think of the set design too, because that's
Sure.
part of it. But if we're talking location, like in the sense of, okay, I'm gonna go literally physically find somewhere for us to film on, like outside
Mhm.
or this building over here.
Right.
You know, there's different ways that I'm thinking of it too. But
Right. Yeah.
I think that they're super important, and like, it always feels like, you know, movies are made in New York or LA.
Right.
You never see.
But they're not.
I know they're not, but they're made out to be that way.
Yeah.
And then you see those indie films where they're like in somebody's house in this small town.
Right. This is
Who
made in
knows
North
where they're-
Dakota. This
Yeah.
is made, you know,
Vancouver.
Exactly.
Vancouver, oh, yeah.
You
Which
know.
has a good film industry.
They do.
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it actually. I think we just.
Well, that kind of
grasp
makes me
what
think
I'm
of Panic Room
Oh yeah.
that we just watched on
Right.
Tuesday, where
That-
they built it
Yeah.
and it feels it's
And
perfect for the.
Yeah, for that story, that house did it not have to be a character.
love that movie.
In a certain, you did,
Mhm.
yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah.
yeah, I should.
Are you talking about with Jodie Foster?
Mhm.
I'm so mad I missed that. I own it. But I love it.
Yeah,
We'll
Yeah.
do a screening of it at Toronto.
Okay.
and I didn't realize this. It's lit all with Kinos. I didn't
Told
realize
you.
that. Yeah.
Told you. I told Quaid, I said, you don't need any of these. And he's like, we're talking about, like, all you need is Kinos. And he's like, you're crazy. I'm like, mm-mm.
For the
Look
lighting.
at that. All Kinos. I'm telling you, I'm a director.
If
These
you
are none
just
but
want
Kinos.
soft, yeah, Kinos, China balls will give you the
And
same
then it look
look.
fantastic. Dark and, like, scary and light.
Oh yeah, but you get that soft gradient.
Yeah.
You know, I like hard light too, though. You know.
What would you call that? Them ratios, Cat? Like maybe like
2 to 1.
yeah.
8 to 1. 4 to 2.
You're asking
4 to
the
4.
person. I didn't
That's the
study
ratios.
hard.
I remember it because it's found on the paper while cleaning up.
It'll make sense one day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I love
Say
it.
it was an 8 to 1.
What was your reasoning for mentioning that movie? The location? You guys were talking
Yeah,
about?
just the house was built for that movie, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was an
They
entire
built that
whole
thing,
thing.
You know, but you felt like it didn't. But it worked. You could believe
Yeah.
it was on that street
They
in
built
New
it out of
York. It
Kinos.
was a brownstone, all that kind of stuff.
And
you
it
know?
would have felt like another character because it's the panic room and the house.
Mm-hmm. You have all these sort of voyeuristic shots snaking around and stuff, but it's like you're kind of going through the guts of this organism that's containing these people.
I can't believe they killed Jared Leto, though, man.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah,
forgot
you
about
Spoiler
that.
alert!
It's just like-
Spoiler
I
alert!
was like, how are you gonna kill a Joker?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the movie has
He
been
needed
out
to
a
go.
while.
Like that.
Yeah.
Man, he died.
He's
His
been out
brains
for a
went.
long time.
You seen Brains at the end? I remember as a kid when I
2002.
watched that and I like puked the first time I seen it.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, it was a kid though.
I was completely desensitized by the time I saw that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's right to
It
desensitize
was like the best
yourself.
character, too,
I
man.
think.
Yeah.
I was like,
It was a great movie. Such a simple movie to being so good. I think it was my favorite Kristen Stewart movie.
Yeah,
that's
that's what I said, and I
Not much
hate,
saying.
hate that she gets bagged on so bad, but I thought she was good in that.
She was good in
It's
that.
funny, you said it's a very simple movie, but yet, didn't you say it was like super hard to make? Like,
Yes.
going.
Well, Fincher had wanted to. He wanted to make, okay, I want to make an easy movie now, just like one location, a few actors in it and stuff, and it ended up being one of the hardest movies he ever made because of how they did it. You
How
know?
so?
Well, they built that whole construct there, but then they're having all these problems of how to get this camera on a techno crane, how to get it from way up here to down here, to go through all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff to figure out.
Oh, when they did the wall scene?
A lot of, and a lot of the CG in the kitchen when it's going through the little, like, handles and stuff, a lot of that had to do it. And you had to put it on a techno crane, which you can actually program in the shot so you can redo it over and over and over and over.
Is that where that house filled really wide?
And it, you know, wide, it makes that expanse of it huge. You know, as you're going through it,
Yeah.
the things passing become bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of stuff. You know, lens choice is kind of interesting for that. You know, you got some benefits with wide. Why I went wide a lot in some of the stuff, especially when I'm doing Steadicam shots and stuff like that, is focus is a lot more forgiving. You can kind of have a, you know, a much wider depth of field. Like small depth of field is good. It's nice to have those mushed in colors and stuff in the background from what you're filming, but really hard to do, you know, moving with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're moving with them and you got a lot of space there for things that are relatively in focus, it's the way you want to go, you know. But it gives things like in that house, it makes it bigger. It makes it more in your face. You're in this thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And almost it's sort of those shots in Panic Room is almost, and I haven't heard this, but it's almost like the house itself, where it's the POV of the house almost in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got that feeling from it.
Well, I think another movie that kind of made the house a part of another character in the movie. I'm going back old school.
House?
Monsters.
The original Miami Horror.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's staring. The house stares
Yeah.
at
The
you.
which
Yeah.
one?
Amityville Horror.
It's the original one.
It's
terrifying.
Is that scary?
I don't think he's seen the new one.
Not the Ryan
Have you?
The remake's okay.
Is it a scary movie?
The remake's not that bad, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make it doesn't. It's not the
Not
same.
like no, it's not.
It is
It's
very
not. It's worth checking out. The
Yeah.
original Amityville. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Good characterization. Coup de grace at the end, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
but it's really all about how the behavior of these people in this house and stuff like that. Also very interesting. I mean, that house also.
Isn't it still around?
Yeah, yeah. And then there's all these stories about it. Is it really
Yeah.
haunted? Is it not? You know.
Yeah.
I'll sleep in and see if we'll find it.
There you go.
Like the Holy Spirit
You know,
compels.
because there's really hard evidence that it's not really haunted.
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
But that story in itself is fairly interesting as well, and more goes into the
But-
realms of true crime and stuff.
But the movie, the original movie anyway, had that it would pan out to the or not pan out, but cut to the front of the house
Yeah.
or to the house, and it almost looked like it had a face to the house
It's
or
got
whatever
these
type thing.
eyes, you know, in
Or-
the top room where the people were murdered in,
Yeah.
and it's staring out at
And
you.
it almost looks like a face, and it cuts to that occasionally, whatever type thing. And
Is the
Not-
house
not-
like alive?
It's
There
not
again.
like that little animated movie.
but
Yeah, monster.
but it just like that's. I mean, it's really. We're kind of sound like it does sound like when we're telling you. It sounds like it's like animated movie or something like that. But it does. You know, it's really powerful to see that when it cuts to the thing. But the thing about it is the new remake of it they did with Ryan Reynolds in it. A number of years now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that. It doesn't
No.
have that. It
Yeah,
just,
It has
on
the
him.
psychology stuff going on
Yeah.
with the characters, which is the strong point of
Right.
Yeah.
the remake. But the original, the house is wicked looking.
right.
It's like there's
Yeah.
something wrong with it, you know, in the kind of way. And in actuality, there probably isn't.
It makes me
Except
think
that,
of
you know, somebody killed somebody there. But.
Bates Motel, kind of, because
Yeah, well, they cut
the
to
movie,
that.
the show,
Yeah.
they did a very good job with that.
Do you sort of like associate the house as a character, almost a part of the mom?
Yeah.
In a
Like
way,
they're
it
one.
represents her because she's in there hollering for
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. This
Yeah.
is a good one. Do you guys like movies with just one location, or do you find it? Do you like it more where it's
It
like
depends.
go here, 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 here?
I can enjoy either.
Okay.
Like, I love Lord of the Rings, and you're all over the place. I love Star Wars, and you're kind of all over the place. And Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the first one, you're all over the place. But then there's movies I love that are you're just in one place. You know, I've seen movies with very few characters in one location that I've loved.
That's so crazy because last night I was watching Roseanne
Mhm.
and I realized, you know, most TV shows you notice that they're
You're in
always
the one
the
set,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some aren't, you know, some
aren't, yeah,
they're
no.
you know, everywhere. And I was like, I appreciate this because I feel at home when I watch, you know, her in her room in her
Their
kitchen.
home is your home.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I kind of actually do like. It's a good question.
That's
One setting
actually
more.
an old sentiment to, I think, like kind of more of the feeling of shows back in the 70s, maybe even 50s, 60s too. But, you know, yeah, it's that kind of thing. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You're visiting this family, but they, of course, the show wants you to think it's your family, and, you know, it's that comfort kind of food.
Yeah, well, I mean, Robin Williams was asked one time by Kevin Smith, what does he get recognized more for his, you know, work, you know, whatever he's done in his life, you know, movies, whatever, what he's done in his life, and he said, will I actually get recognized more for, or not recognized, but like talked about more to, you know, asking questions about was Mork and Mindy. Like it's a sitcom he did late 70s, early 80s or whatever, still to that day, you know, into, you know, this is like in the late 90s he's been told this, and he said because it was everybody, I was in their home, so that everybody knows that, you know, where everybody didn't see that movie or that movie or that movie or whatever type of thing I did. It was all I was invited into their home and everything like that. So it's, you know.
That's true. That was the thing that made him famous, right? He was kind of doing well as a
Well, he was
comic,
doing
but-
stand-up, yeah.
But then that really did solidify because he did it early in his stand-up career, I guess. Yeah, I remember that show as a kid. Yeah, I love that living room too.
Yeah. There's another show that was just the living
Yeah, it's just
room was
basically the
movie.
living room, that whole show. Occasionally, you went to his home planet.
Yeah,
Very
occasionally went to
rarely.
a music store. There was a music store involved in
Yeah.
it.
This is something really dumb, but when I was younger, like when I used to watch like Drake and Josh, you know, I thought that was like a real house and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember I was young, I saw behind the scenes, and the whole
Yeah.
where the
It's a
camera side is
facade.
fake.
Uh-huh.
My heart was broken, guys. I was so broken. I was like, what?
But you took that knowledge and decided to become a filmmaker.
And I was like, I knew I didn't want to.
Right?
But I remember I was like, they're lying to me.
Oh yeah.
That's not even real.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
They've been manipulated.
The kitchen isn't real either. They're not real. Am I real? Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me present this to you. Do you guys prefer an all real location, like meaning everything there is practical?
No.
Or are you cool with like composite shots
I-
of miniatures and CGI.
I love it
everything
all.
put together.
I love it when it's all put together, like
Right.
different, when it's all. But it has to be done well, like anything, If it's done well.
For sure.
But I love miniatures, I love the Army of Darkness, that one, the windmill,
Yeah.
It's a freaking miniature. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I should have known that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And it was
That's
like a
so
miniature.
cool.
And then the
How do you
painting in the background, that was a painting. So
Yeah.
I thought that was so good. And it looks cool.
Mhm.
Like CGI, I mean, it look all right,
Uh-huh.
There's a sense of when you do it kind of like, or artsy,
Right.
it looks cool. It looks
Or
way
combine
better.
a bunch of different
Yeah.
elements.
I was
but
like,
it feels real.
It feels real. I
think
was like,
that's
I
the
totally
thing.
dig that.
Yeah.
But-
I think it depends on the work. Like, there's certainly some CGI shots of things that look cheap.
But in
Then there's
Fury Road,
uh-huh.
the CGI in the desert,
Oh yeah.
there's all those rocks and stuff. That's all CGI,
Yeah.
and it looks
good.
great
It looks great.
because there's a I don't know if you've seen. There's a comparison.
Mhm.
It just shows them filming in the desert,
Yeah.
and then they add the layers. When they go through that canyon,
Right.
a lot of that is fake.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is what we can do. But it looks great.
Mhm.
So it just depends, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it all.
For sure. And they created that world pretty well.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
Where's the next one at?
Yeah, I know.
Can I have it?
Bogged down in red tape.
It's supposed to be
and
called
stuff.
Waste Wars or something, or Wasteland.
Wasteland.
Wasteland. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. Mhm. Hopefully,
Where's that, George?
hopefully they'll do it.
Come on, George. Want my wallet?
George Miller's getting older too. It's like,
Yeah, Miller, come on.
He looked old when he did the first movie too.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think world building, like successful world building, is great. I like finding, like for my own movies, I like finding really cool looking real locations that look awesome. Like it's something kind of neat to know about. Like in the real world we're at, we found this place. When the light gets like this, you get this magic look. I like when nature reveals something beautiful.
It's
like
important.
when small things like you've got a little smoke going on here, but you got these like rays of light coming in through the slats of an old barn or something, and you see this. It's almost being anointed with light in a certain kind of way. It looks special,
Well, there's some things you can't come up with that exist that you couldn't imagine.
Textures and stuff like this. Like there's a place I'm hoping maybe I can get it for Trapdoor Spider, but it's a location in Greensboro. This place I used to shoot all the time called Revolution Mill, and on one side of the road, it's all been back when I used to shoot there, it was all dilapidated and demolished and all this kind of stuff, but you can't. You have to pay in the movies really good money for that rust and that texture and all that kind of stuff. And there it was just existed.
Mm-hmm.
All these old machines that decay and stuff had worn on for years, but it looks awesome. And so I shot a lot of stuff there, and then that's all like been remade into like posh apartments and storage spaces and businesses and stuff like that. But across the street, they still have part of it or another mill that shares like their railway stuff and all that. But it's really cool too. But it has all these corridors and all these underground passages and stuff that look great. And it's right there. If I can find out how much it costs, like, and get some lights in there, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard to replicate that with fake stuff. Especially on a budget. So finding the real stuff is cool. Like I always wanted to. One of the reasons I think I stubbornly stayed in North Carolina to make movies is because of the mountains. They aren't really represented that much in movies and stuff. A little bit here and there, but not really enough. Like I know them really well. And there's all these beautiful places there that are just great. Like I want to shoot some stuff there. You can easily make period pieces there.
Yeah.
And stuff really great. A lot of great rock formations and just stuff that no one's seen before. It's awesome. If this summer, if y'all get a chance to, if you haven't been on the Parkway, go do it. It's great. Take a picnic, lunch, go camping if you want to, whatever. But it's just beautiful. Every little overlook has got something different to see.
I'm actually, I think I said this earlier.
It's a little scary to drive on that road too, which I find thrilling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's.
That's why I want to go to Asheville, because it's really beautiful.
It's right. Yeah, Asheville's great. I
It's
went
terrifying roads though. My
Yeah.
friend, he lives there,
Yeah.
way up. Every time we go up, I'm like, this could be our last day.
Oh yeah.
Because the road's like this.
I got
the rocks
used
are
to
falling
it.
as you're driving. You're like, everyone
Everything's
lean!
like this.
Yeah.
Nobody,
Slowing
who's
around.
leaning? On the other side.
Yeah. I got used to it as a kid driving, and I was in
Yeah.
high school, so I got used to little twisty, turny roads and stuff. But
My dad took his Challenger when he first got up there. I was like,
I'd be friends and they'd get like sick.
die.
You're kissing the ground.
Yeah, like,
When I first took my wife to the mountains, it was a little bit of, trying to get used to that.
just like, it's not Tokyo Drift.
Biltmore House would be probably a cool place to film at, but
Biltmore House would be, yeah.
probably very expensive to do it though.
Could
But
be. It just depends how hurting for money they are at the time, which they're hurting for money a lot. But it's a gorgeous place, especially if you want to do a period piece. Like it's, gosh, I don't even know when that thing was built. But
I'd love to film there,
yeah.
but they wouldn't let me destroy it.
No, but you could build a model and
Right.
destroy it.
he wants to destroy everything he films at.
Yeah.
I like destruction.
Mhm.
It's my life.
Yeah. I haven't done any big explosions in any of my movies, so that's
You wanna work on
something to do. Yeah, I'd love to just learn how to do it. Yeah, different materials cause different
You can-
colors in the fire.
You can learn how to make explosives on the internet.
Oh,
That won't hurt people, but pretty legit.
There's a book before the internet that was around for a long time.
Oh,
with all
where's
that
this
in it.
book at?
It's probably on the internet now. It's the one if you bought it at the bookstore, they put you on a little list. That's the legend around.
Tell
it,
me when
you
the
know.
next one comes in.
It's like, why are you selling it in the books?
Yeah, really.
My real question would be like, why am I in a bookstore?
Yeah.
Don't say that. Bookstores are beautiful places, Tyler, and they smell amazing.
They got some cool like knickknacks and stuff like
I
that.
just see dead trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Explode. You can explode trees and then make
You
books.
see a room. You see a room of knowledge. I see a room of murderers. And they're like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, no.
That'd be a good introduction to a character.
I'm here for
right?
Starbucks. I would like a. And they just leave.
So, what are some other things we can say about place?
It's important that it looks good. Swear, there's some movies, man, where that background just looks
If you don't buy
like a
it,
white wall.
it
You're
can
like,
take you out.
You're like,
Oh, there's nothing worse.
even if the
than that.
dialogue's good, you're still like,
After
No.
shooting this place, and it's really. I have
Right?
to shoot I'm shooting an office movie. It's called Department 666, and I don't think it's a bad location they got, but I'm gonna have to come up with some. I'm gonna have
background.
to come up with a game here, because it's really okay. How I got to use people. I think I got to really
Yeah,
think about
something
how
moving. Yeah.
because it's all like light yellow walls, bunch of desks and stuff, LCD monitor up there, but it's an office kind of thing. A lot of space. There's no things in there. It's just empty desks, empty everything. And
If you notice The Office, they always had
Yes.
people moving, doing something.
you have background
It just
action.
added-
You
it
gotta have
helped.
the extra. Yes,
'Cause-
you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about that, just sort of segueing location to like one of the jobs of the AD is to direct your extras.
Okay.
And the reason you don't want to be the director and direct the extras, or else they can. It's okay,
Mm-hmm.
like on that, but they're gonna. All of a sudden, if you're a director in an industry film and you start directing the extras, they can all get. You're giving them. You'll have to pay them more money.
Really? Why is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, because they're getting actual direction from the director.
Oh.
Which is send the AD
Wow.
over there to direct background extras.
Damn, I owe
Actually,
a lot
that's
of
how that
people a lot of
works.
money, guys.
Yeah, you know, no you don't, no you don't, not on our level.
You brought up The Office. They film, of course, all their stuff in Los Angeles, but they're supposed to be in Scranton.
Right.
So they have to, if the winter time, whatever, all that stuff they do, it's all fake snow or whatever they do.
Yeah.
They have out there. If it's, and they always go out with coats or whatever on, and they are in like.
Notice
probably
they're not
like
shooting when
80
they go
degree
outside.
weather or whatever.
It's always like looking from the office down at the parking lot.
Right.
You aren't seeing the trees there because in
Mm.
California you're gonna have palm trees.
Right.
You don't want to see the
So
palm
that's-
trees.
I mean, that's the interesting thing too about locations. You have got, it depends on where you. I mean,
Yeah.
like a lot of people live in these cities, and they say, well, we're in Philadelphia, and then a lot of people say, you're not in Philadelphia.
You're not in Philly.
Right.
Whatever. It's like, and sometimes people will see. I mean, because I've seen, I saw. Let's see, what did I see that I know they went filming in. It was my parents. I was living with my parents at the time, and my parents were watching Matlock, which I'm not sure if y'all know the television show Matlock. Andy Griffith, lawyer. It took place. I always think that too. It took place in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And see, I lived in Atlanta for 7 years. This was during the time I was actually living in Atlanta, and they were actually filming the courthouse and it was the courthouse in downtown Wilmington because they moved their where they were filming it. I'm not sure where they were originally filming it, but they
Right.
moved their film to Wilmington, North
Right.
Carolina,
Sure.
and they came out of their courthouse, which I know where the courthouse is in downtown because my parents are from Wilmington, so there's a courthouse downtown Wilmington, and they were coming out and they're walking down the steps. And the river is right there. The Cape Fear River is right there.
That's not Atlanta.
And yeah, Atlanta doesn't have a river running through it.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
So it was
Just lots of
kind of
highways.
funny because just like they pulled out and showing them watching and walk down the steps. I'm like, that's what? There's a river right there. No, that's not Atlanta.
Tell the lines,
Whatever.
Matlock.
You're lying to me, Matlock.
Can't
do that.
I can't believe you're part.
Small things like that
Supposed to
can
be a
pull.
good guy.
Like most people probably watching aren't even thinking about
Yeah.
that. But
They don't.
it's kind of funny how it's like, does that ruin it? It doesn't ruin, but I'm like,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. That kind of thing. I mean, because like we just said, a lot of stuff has been shot in Vancouver or anywhere in
Right.
different places in Canada,
uh-huh.
and they're saying it's New York or it's saying it's this or
Oh,
that
yeah.
or whatever.
Vancouver does not look like Manhattan. Though Kubrick did sort of get away with it with Eyes Wide Shut. I think he shot it there in
Oh, really?
Vancouver and stuff for
Huh.
the outside stuff. They kind of decked it out a little bit, but it wasn't New York where they were really shooting.
Right.
And they had to kind of fake that. It makes sense. They have winters and stuff. It was kind of cold weather movie for part of it. I think. Well, actually all of it, and it kind of worked. Kubrick's another one, man. Like faking world building and stuff like that. Most of his movies have a fair amount of that, and he had a lot of time to plan. Like thinking about his Vietnam movie, Full Metal Jacket. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's a hard movie to watch. It's a hard movie. It's hard. It's hard. It's not a happy fun
Dude,
movie.
all the rednecks in my school, anytime they come up to
I
me,
love
they
that
go,
movie.
they're like, you make movies? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you sing Full Metal Jacket? That's all they would watch. I swear.
Have
They
you
love
seen
it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's great.
I love it too. Yeah. But it was all shot in
They
England.
love that movie.
It's all shot in England. I didn't know.
All shot in England. There might
Really?
have been a few, there's a few, exteriors, I think, of the helicopter where you're looking out. And they sent a second unit to go shoot that in a place where they
Man,
had,
makes
rice
sense,
paddies and stuff. But
It's safe.
Even
they brought in all the palm trees. They brought in all that kind of stuff for the Tet invasion.
Yeah.
That was shot in England. They had all these buildings they were demolishing near where he lived, so they used that for the urban
Right.
warfare at the end. Of course,
even the boot camp scenes were.
boot camp was shot there. Yeah,
Okay.
they just remade all of that. They rebuilt them all to spec and everything like
Right.
that. Notice there, you don't see a lot of the buildings themselves. You see just
true.
the
Yeah.
woods and where they got the obstacles.
I mean, it
and
makes
stuff.
sense. Like, you wouldn't really want to film it.
And then they got that's all set, but it's perfect set. Looks kind of like how those things would be. Very sterile and oh gosh.
So imagine if they really did it, end up like Tropic Thunder,
Mm.
Let's go make the greatest movie.
But what's funny is it was all shot near his house in England.
Really?
Yeah, and because it looks legit though. They have all these nothing but palm trees
Yeah.
and stuff. They brought in the palm trees, and they shot that. Find clever ways to hide the bases if they're in potted kinds of things.
Building a living world.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Mhm.
Kind of interesting, but what you can get away with, and
So
you feel like you're actually there in Vietnam. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been to Vietnam, but
It's quite
see,
nice.
it works.
The weather sucks, but
That's hot as hell.
yeah, just gotta watch out for the landmines. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Another thing, also a Vietnam movie, but Apocalypse Now. They shot that in the Philippines, but at least it's a place that looks
Yeah, it looks
a
legit.
very similar kind of
Yeah.
thing to Vietnam. I bet there's some small differences though. I bet people who actually were in Vietnam saying, "Well, we ain't got those plants, but we got these
Yeah.
plants." Those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. And then mixing fake with real is interesting. I think of Raiders of the Lost Ark. You feel like that temple he goes into is there in that jungle that you start off with.
That's impressive.
You feel like it's there. It's not. It's a set.
It's so
It's
it's so
great
impressive.
looking. Yeah. Almost more impressive. Like the sets on that. I don't think they supersede the ones in the following movies and stuff, but there's something kind of almost magical about the stuff in that first movie.
Maybe that's just
Maybe that's just remember Barry's
Well,
talking inside my head.
I mean,
Well, the newer ones, maybe they're again, or I say new ones. I mean the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. I forgot
That the sets that they were going through that area where the bodies or whatever they were looking at. It looks. Maybe it's the way it's shot now. Maybe it's the way they couldn't do a more grittier looking to it or whatever.
Right.
But it looks like it's on set.
Yeah.
Where
It's
they're
like a
going
painting
through
as
the
far as yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it didn't
You know,
look good.
I don't think those monkeys were real.
You don't.
Science.
You're wrong.
But the bugs are real. The bugs have got
They
it.
got- they got it.
The bugs, yeah, they have bug rings.
That's why I don't go to the jungle, man.
And
I ain't
those
going out there.
aliens- Those aliens were real.
Definitely.
I've seen their contracts.
What?
I'm sorry.
They
I'm
were
jumping the
Blowing our
rails
minds here.
Yeah. Whoops.
They're aliens though? They said they weren't aliens. They said they're, what is it?
They're illegal aliens.
Interdimensional,
Yeah.
interdimensional travelers or something.
Right.
Between the spaces. I love the end of that movie that they go, what was the treasure? It was knowledge. You know when you're old when you say the treasure is knowledge.
That's an old
Yeah.
cliche of.
It's also a
lot of stuff.
curse.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's definitely a
cliche.
curse.
The treasure is love, also.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
Knowledge and love.
I'd rather love than
We
knowledge.
should've said
What
that.
a
family.
chick.
Yeah, and family.
What'd you say?
What a chick.
I wish Shia LaBeouf at them and he would be like,
Just
what a
once.
joke, man, that's it.
Just
Knowledge.
once, it should be.
He just flips out and walks away.
I know. Well, yeah.
They're like, hey, you can't go that way. Then you hear him like hit a light.
Oh, yeah.
You're like,
Knowledge
it is
just
a
leads
set.
you to more knowledge, and then it's never ending. It's
They
like-
should have the guy in those commercials where he goes, see this Lamborghini, you know? And he's like, I don't need that. I have knowledge. And he has the bookshelf. They should have had him cameo.
Right. Can't help but think of what is it? The answer to everything is 42 or whatever from Hitchhiker's Guide. I think that was it. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. I've seen that one movie.
There's a big giant supercomputer called Deep Thought or whatever. It's supposed to be the smartest thing in the universe. And they asked it what is the answer to everything, and they had to think about it for a while, and then it was 42. Which is very obscure and like
42.
might as well be, you know. It's
So,
kind of the
in
real
theory,
answer.
when I'm on a test, 42 is the right answer.
In
And
theory,
C.
yeah. But your teacher is not going to get it, and they're going to mark it wrong because they don't know.
But they're an idiot, so
That's the whole
in
point.
theory, I still win. Ha!
There you go. If you can win in your mind, you
Yeah.
got it.
But you know.
Come back,
You know the
I'm like,
truth.
yeah.
Yes.
Like, how'd school go? I'm like, not too good.
They weren't up to my capabilities.
They didn't understand
Yeah.
who I was.
They didn't understand me.
I was quite superior.
That's right. When does a location fail for a movie? Can anybody cite an example?
Oh man.
I just did that. Christmas
The
Skull. We went.
prequels,
Skull, yeah,
Star
yeah,
Wars,
yeah.
the prequels.
Prequels, okay.
Yeah.
They just did blue screens and it just.
Here's the
It
sad
didn't work.
truth. They built all those models. A lot of it
They
was
did?
sets and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
never
But They
mind.
glazed over it with like the ships come in. Like I still think the outsourced
Yeah.
side shots of the ships and stuff.
I hate the
are cool.
shots from like when they're walking in the city, you know,
Mhm.
and the pillars are
Right.
just going on forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It doesn't look good. It feels weird. It's like
Right.
you wouldn't. That just doesn't. I don't know, it's like doesn't end.
But there's a lot of them sitting down
Mm-hmm.
and walking kind of straight where they don't want to go off the camera or they don't want to go off this
Right.
way or whatever type. It's a lot of walking
You just
straight
explain the whole
line.
movie.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of sitting down where
Yeah.
they don't want to be.
Very true.
I mean, I saw where a person was like going over some of the movies and like there's a lot of people sitting down and there's a lot because they don't because
yeah,
they
it's
can't do that
expensive
because
to
of the
make. Let's put Yoda in a floating chair instead of making him walk, because that's a
Mhm.
lot of extra money, right?
right.
You know.
Oh, is that why they did that?
Yeah.
I was wondering why that little green dude wasn't walking. I was like, man, you better walk. You're a master. I was like, why does not every Jedi have that?
His
You know?
legs are
Right.
mechanical.
Can you imagine they're all like,
Yeah. Why didn't he have his floating pillow?
They got
on,
traffic.
Dagobah,
got a blinker?
yeah. Was Yoda lazy?
Probably was. He was like, man, I've done this for like 800 years.
You know, he wants to move stuff with his thought. He can't go over there and walk over it and pick it up himself.
Right.
Jeez.
But then the next movie he was taking out some guys.
Yeah, he's
Oh
like,
yeah, his fight against Dooku was crazy.
Can we just all agree how hilarious Yoda's yell is?
I mean, when he was taking down those creatures or whatever. Remember where he had to pull
It's
out
a
the lightning?
combination of Grover
He
and
goes-
the elephant.
Yeah.
Man, he killed me, man. The Sidious would just beat up this little green guy. I can imagine the one of the guards, comes in, he's late, and he looks up and he just sees that, and he's like, I'll come back later.
He's like, I'm gonna turn around.
I'm gonna turn. Just
Not today.
Yeah.
badass moment in that movie though is when he cut that lightning though. He was like,
So let me dive a little deeper here.
Oh, wait.
So we talked about the prequels in relation to the first ones. So a lot of that CGI and that stuff gives it a glossy kind of look, right?
Yeah.
It kind of separates us a little bit from reality.
yeah.
I always describe those movies as kind of like looking through a really pretty history book
Mm-hmm.
with really nice paintings. Is kind of how it felt to me. Whereas in the original trilogy, I felt like I'm in that place for some reason.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
the grain and the texture of the film, but a lot more real stuff.
You really
just
think
on-
it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, it's really hard as an animator. I mean, in the end, you want to. I don't know if it's the necessary goal to create something that seems completely real in it, but that's certainly one of the things going for better graphics and stuff like that is to really put somebody in a real place. I mean, whether we'll see it in our lifetimes, I think we'll see a close representation of where we're actually going to see fake stuff that looks completely real to us, whether it's in the form of some sort of weird holograph or we experience it like the Matrix. I hope it's not that. I really don't want to put like chips and machines inside of my body or anything like that. But
Unless it lets me punch through walls.
is the goal and purpose of animation to get as close to reality as possible, or is that just one of the aspects? I think it could be, cartoons aren't real looking, but you're getting more and more to this kind of form of something that's not real that has certainly life to it. I don't know.
It also depends on budget. I don't know.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
we-
Everything depends. Yeah. I mean, all great ideas are faced with how much money can be made to create that. You
Yeah.
know, you look at the first Fantastic Four movie. Enough said. not the first one. You like the one in the '80s.
Yeah.
The
I saw
Roger
The
Corman.
Rock.
Yeah,
What's
Roger
the
Corman.
thing? I was like, man.
yeah. A lot of people were like that. Yeah.
I was like,
But there weren't a lot
Right.
of there weren't a lot of comic book movies then,
Yeah.
and there weren't certainly a lot of team
Mm.
kind of stuff back then either. It was sort of that, let's take a chance here.
did y'all ever see Fan Four Stick?
No.
The new Fantastic Four?
Oh.
Everybody calls it Fan Four Stick because they put the 4 in the middle and it was stupid.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Trying to be clever.
I didn't see it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
How was your? Did you see it in theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, I bootlegged
Was
that
it
thing.
worse than the one with
So
the
worse.
dude from The Shield in it?
Oh, it's so worse. Boring.
So there's a
It seems like you have
conflict.
opinion.
The characters were better, but the overall movie. I was
When
like,
did it
Characters
come
I
out?
don't think we're better.
don't
Quite
think so?
honestly.
When did it come out?
when did it come out? 2014.
Something like that.
After X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Yeah. I didn't think the characters were believable.
Actually, no, I hated the guy who played whatever his name was. All right,
Mr. Fantastic.
I don't hate the actor,
Tyler.
Miles Teller?
Miles
but
Teller,
yeah.
yeah. He was
Actually, he was
When
my
he-
favorite part.
really.
Remember when he CGI'd the guy's face?
Who's this person?
When he stretched his face to look like the other
I
guy?
don't know,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
seem
2015.
I was like, he can do that?
But yeah.
And the other one was with Checklist was in 2005.
Yeah.
Is that them?
There it is, Fan Four Stick.
Dun, dun, dun.
I like the director on that, man. He did a great job on Chronicle.
Chronicle was an interesting movie.
I feel
yeah.
bad for him.
He
he had some
ran
talent.
into some trouble. I know an actor that worked on this movie, though. I'm not going to talk about it here on a public. I'll talk about it afterwards. I know a story.
Okay.
But
Josh,
I'm
yeah.
going to try to keep the good mojo going. But yeah, he had a hard time on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, really hard time. All right, Aiden. Have a good one.
Y'all too. I'll see y'all after
Thanks
the
as
break.
always. Yeah, have a good break. Remember to break through that wall.
I will.
So what's his name?
Yeah.
Is it Miles?
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Who played Mr.
Yeah,
Fantastic?
Miles Teller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at this guy.
He's been in some stuff I like though.
This young.
I like him.
Mhm.
Just that movie though.
Just didn't work for the movie. Did they put little white stuff on his hair?
Did they?
No.
I don't even remember. I saw it once.
No.
That's how he's supposed to. Okay. Yeah.
Saw it once when I was
That's the thing about
What
it.
else
I
was he
mean,
in?
I know, yeah. I mean, I just like.
Whiplash.
Everyone
That
Oh,
was-
the guy in Whiplash.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that-
That's
he was
cool.
good in that.
Yeah.
Everyone says that there was 1,000 hours that they
Only
took
the Brave.
out
That was good.
that was
Oh yeah, War Dogs.
supposed to be in
He
there
was good in War
that
Dogs.
was gonna make it good, and then
Mm,
the studio was like, no, take out everything.
yeah.
That's right.
No more.
That was good. Yeah, yeah.
Comedy.
Oh, don't watch War Dogs. That was good.
Huh,
I mean-
I don't know about that movie.
It.
Jonah Hill. Okay.
I don't want to get too much depth into it because I don't want to go on a comic book fanboy rant
Right,
or anything
right,
like that because I don't. You know, I can take if somebody wants to introduce a character or characters or whatever into it and make it their original a little bit different, you know, a little bit, and it turns out well. I'm not gonna say, well, that's not what was good.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just if they can, you know, do
Captures the absence of the character.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the key thing to me. To every comic movie, it doesn't matter
Right.
if a person gets their powers from space or some, you know, radioactive, you know, science experiment or whatever type thing. It's just like if it's the character essence is still there, you know, that I'm all good, you know, with it.
Absolutely.
But there were some things that, like I said, that to me that just didn't really. I mean, like I said, I didn't like Miles Teller.
War Dogs? Or
No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that movie.
He's great.
I have not seen that movie. I like
And
Whiplash was pretty good. Though. I did like that.
Oh, you're talking about just the Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but
But,
yeah. And just from the amount of, like, you heard about all the problems it was having really before you even heard really what it's about. I don't think that you really ever heard really what it's about. And you just kept hearing about the problems with the director and stuff like that.
the Thing was naked. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's not rocks. It's fun. Yeah.
That's right, he wasn't.
Yeah.
It made me feel weird. I was like, oh.
I mean that's my. I mean.
If I was on that team, man, I'd been like, come on, man. Put some I know you're a rock and all, but it's still weird.
It's a little weird. Yeah.
But,
Even in the comic,
I mean,
you had some shorts on.
Yeah, you always had some shorts on the comic. But that's
I don't wanna
ranting
see
fanboy little stuff
wanna
or whatever
see
type thing. I'm just
That's pretty funny. Though.
That's the point. There was not that.
what?
I said, I was going to be like, if I saw him, I'd be like, come on, man, I don't want to see your pebbles.
That's what everybody's talking about. It's like, there was no pebbles.
It just didn't seem like they even at the end, it didn't seem they became a team. You know, it just seemed like they
They said the words.
They said the word. That's right.
So it sounds like really with that movie, the problem was perhaps some story issues and characters.
Possibility.
There was a lot that
Directing
was
a little bit,
missing. A
yeah.
lot that they shot that didn't get in because of the studio.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to get to the center of that because like there's a story from all angles of that. And
For sure. You'd be
what a friend
diving
of
in.
mine says is generally if you've got all these different views on the same thing, the true answer is in the middle somewhere. You know, and that's probably the best way to. That's how I look at it. If I run into disputes on set and stuff like that, I'll try to do my best to hear both sides.
Yeah.
And also, if it's not a big deal, they should just get over it and move on. But if it's, 9 times out of 10 though, one's going to make themselves look like the hero, and the other person is too. So you got to
You're
really,
right.
you got to look through both and kind of, air to caution.
Nobody sees himself as the villain.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, it just seemed like they still didn't like each other. At the end
No,
of it.
no, that's not
You're
hard
supposed to be a team.
And
You know?
he's- yeah. That's interesting. So maybe they were displaying the turmoil that the actual crew people were having, people that made the filmmakers. Interesting.
It's just,
We're adding a lot of,
Yeah.
probably BS
Probably
to the
we're
story here.
focusing
So
too
none
much
of this
on it.
is,
Yeah.
don't take this for real. This is just assumptions.
Um,
Lots of assumptions.
Anyway, but the location. Speaking of that movie, the locations were always dark. I'm not sure if you noticed that. It just seemed like it was really shot
Yeah.
dark, and it's just everything. Whether it be in a lab or whether it be this place or that, even when they're at high school, everything seemed to be dark, and they're in like a science fair at high school, and it seemed like it was really just.
And those places are, so they didn't light for natural stuff, they lit stylized.
You're right, it did seem very dark.
Yeah.
So
They
they
kinda
were
give you
really
kind of like a
stylized.
a depressed feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Just
thing
like-
with shooting is I try to honor what nature's doing. You know, I try to
Yeah.
see kind of like that. Of course, you know, it's kind of nice to find some embellishment to do, but I kind of just look at that.
You know, I just trying to get back on the location.
We're
That's
good.
why I was-
I know, like shooting, like I was sort of talking about. Sometimes you end up in a situation you got to shoot, and it's couch against a white wall, and it's like, oh god, and it's supposed to be a great movie. How do we do this? You know, there's some little tricks I've picked up. Sometimes you can grab the couch and kind of angle it off the wall a little bit to create a shadow. You know, side lighting or above lighting. You know, there's ways you can kind of get around it. You know, use your flags, use your barn doors, create a little shape. You know, what does Quaid always do? He always gets that little grid and throws it up on a light to show a pattern. On
Like the
back of
cookie
wall.
sheet?
Yeah, the
Yep.
cookie sheet. Looks great.
It does add to it.
Works like a charm. Easy to do. You know.
Yep.
Little quick things like that can make your own stuff look great. You know, that's a nice thing about Quaid. He can help you deal with like. I bet he's talked about spaces that are boring and how to make them look good, right? Yeah, that's a big problem sometimes. You know.
He's too good.
He's always, or I mean, he was always doing that with us. It's like, well, we need more. You know, he's looking at this, you know, this little area right here, and we were just like, nobody else is paying attention to this little area right here,
Right.
and we're just like, and he's like, oh yeah, we gotta do something with this area right here. I'm like, why? It's just a little area.
That's
But
me,
he's like,
man.
always wanted to-
I'm blinded. I don't have the gift.
But then in the final picture, do you have sort of an aha moment?
Yeah. Just like, yeah, that does work. Right? You look at you know, when you look at the screen when we're doing them, like, yeah, it
Those
does.
dudes with a lot of experience like him, they know a lot of tricks, which is cool, and a lot of working with not much.
We need to clone him.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a Quaid.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take
Everybody
one
gets a
home.
Quaid in their lives.
Yeah.
Everybody can have one.
Yeah. And then he gets to use the Quaids too to help him with his houses. And
Yeah,
stuff, right?
that's the
Yeah.
deal.
Problem with clones though, do you have to feed them? Are they regular human, or are they just like
Oh,
an
And-
approximation
and
of
each
you?
time
You don't
that-
have to worry
Each
about.
time you make a clone, did they get like less and less knowledgeable?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's probably like multiplicity was
Yeah,
kind of funny.
mobility. You know, there you go.
Because one of them wasn't.
Well, I get the first
Michael
one.
Keaton's was, yeah,
You
yeah.
get the first
They'll be the super smart.
Dumbo
yeah.
Lights.
Or you get the one that wants
Don't
to
eat it.
You get the one that wants to take your place. That's a problem.
I want to be you.
The one who's smarter than you.
Wait, what?
It's like, uh-oh.
That's not the
Let's
deal.
turn into a bicentennial man thing.
Bicentennial multiplicity as well. Is sort of what I was thinking. Then you have the last one who's kind of like, you know, he got a
Really
peanut in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's eating the light.
Yeah.
Is this a new technique?
Drooling. There's nothing. It's just a shell.
But then it looks
Yeah.
great, and you're like, genius.
Yeah,
Told you he's
that'll
nice.
still be there. The ability to like.
Told you he's still good.
That natural instinct.
Yeah. Making locations work, you know, to be more impressive than they actually are. That's quite often a job of a DP, you know, and that kind of stuff. Some places like, God, how do I make this remotely interesting? Hopefully you got good
How to make
looking,
it
or
fun.
interesting looking characters, actors, and then you can kind of like, I'm just going to frame using their faces.
Well, I had this. I mean, the movie I did, Ghost Girl, whatever. I had to play with that a little bit because
Yeah.
part of the scene we shot on the stage in there,
Right,
and then part of it was at my
At your
sister's
house,
my sister's
yeah.
house or whatever type thing,
right,
and I had to like think of because it was like a lot of light around there and everything like that,
right.
and I had to figure out is it gonna look just really bad comparison to the thing, or
Right.
maybe they moved to another house or whatever at some point in time. You know, it was never said on screen
Right.
about that, but it was just
Watching it, I didn't see a problem.
it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Because you had some shadows and similarities going on with how you shot at your house, right?
'Cause, yeah, those shots at her house was like months later. I mean,
Right.
it's like from where it was just like so.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out, is this really just going to look wait a minute, that's on stage. That's not at that house.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. But it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it worked for me. I mean, I didn't really see too much of a separation or anything like that. It kind of worked. Yeah. But but it's hard. It's a difficult thing. You
Yeah.
have to do that, you know. I've told you all my story about shooting in a parking lot, right, on this Blue Crossing movie, this cop movie I shot in Raleigh, and we were.
Was it Partners?
No, this is called Blue Crossing. It's
Blue
about to
Crossing.
come out on Sean Puffy Combs' network on the 19th on Revolt. What is it called? Short and Fresh. It's a series where they show short films. Anyway, we're shooting at this one place, and we had permission from the business of the building and the property, but we didn't have permission from the owner. So we finished out our night there, but we couldn't come back to shoot. And so we had to find overnight a parking lot. Thank God we're shooting at night in a parking lot, because then it's sort of like, okay, you can kind of make a couple of parking lots look the same. At night, you're not seeing the surrounding stuff anywhere except lights and smears, so you don't really have to worry about that. So I was really nervous about how to make it work, and I knew, okay. And there's a huge building here in the parking lot. We were shooting towards the building all night, and I knew the next day, all the shots, we couldn't shoot that way. We had to shoot the other way for everything else we needed. So that was the main thing. I kept having to remind the director that, because he's like, shoot here. I'm like, we can't shoot there. You got to shoot back this way.
Wow.
You know, but it worked, and it seamlessly worked. You know, so that's
Nice.
dealing with locations. I mean, depending on what you're doing. Thank God it was a parking lot at night, because then most parking lots, as I said, look kind of the same. Kind of deal with
I thought it was interesting that some movies, like when I used to listen to a lot of audio commentaries of movies, that you had like maybe the director is doing audio commentary, and maybe writer, or maybe a DP is with them or whatever,
Right.
and they're talking about a scene where this person's basically outside of a building, and then they say, "This is in Los Angeles," and then he walks into the building. Oh, this was in New York or whatever. You know, that kind of thing. It's just like. It's just kind of, I mean, to me, it was just like, wow, it doesn't even look, you know, it's like,
looks seamless,
yeah,
right?
and it's just like, yeah, this was when we were in Los Angeles, and then as soon as he walks in the building, that's when he's in New York or whatever type
They
thing.
talk about this a little bit. Murch talks about that sort of concept a little bit in his editing book. In Blink of an Eye, he talks about believability of space and understanding how things connect in the movie. The outside of this, of course, is the inside of this, in two different places, LA and New York. You know, set in one, and exterior in the other. Shining also. You know, they didn't shoot anything inside that hotel in Denver, but that was the perfect kind of looking thing, not necessarily the book, but for the movie, you know, that perfect kind of feeling of like how that place would look from the outside. Like that Overlook Hotel is like we're talking about the structure being a character. That hotel in Shining is definitely also a character. You know, it's a haunted house too. But then it's all built studio in Shepperton, England, all the interiors. You know, second unit stuff is the shot of the place in Denver, and then I think they got the opening shot of the movie where you're going over the little river and you got the little bug driving out for the first time and stuff. That was shot by second unit too. Which also. Same location, building, talking about worlds, and also across movies. Some of the footage that wasn't used in The Shining, well, Ridley Scott knew they shot some stuff like that, so he calls up Kubrick. And they aren't friends. I don't think Ridley's ever talked to Kubrick in his life. But he calls him up. There's a mutual respect, though. You know, they're both craftsmen. And Kubrick's like, well, I got all this extra stuff we shot for The Shining. See if that'll work, you know, because they were making Ridley Scott making a happy ending for Blade Runner, where they ride off in a little car and they're gonna have a nice little life together and all that kind of stuff. I like the regular ending better, but it was that same kind of forest land and stuff. They did an effect shot with the little thing they're flying in, going over the woods and stuff like that. You could believe maybe they're going to whatever it is that place is that you find Harrison Ford at in 2049, Blade Runner 2049. You know, maybe he's going there. You wonder what happened to her though in the movie. I think they explained it, but
I didn't see 2020. I didn't see 2020.
Yeah, interesting movie. Yeah. Also, both world-building movies. Very different though. The original Blade Runner still had all these people in the city. It felt congested. You felt the life that was kind of dirty and all that kind of of stuff. 2049, it was like, I think the underlying thing was there are less people in the world. And it's impossible to tell if these people were falling around are human or if they're replicant. Most of them were replicants.
Yikes.
So it's like, rarely do you find a real human, and it felt like a dead world watching 2049. Kind of interesting. That still worked. I mean, it was
Yeah.
believable that it was the same place. It was just a little later. And it was like,
Ugh.
all this high advancement in technology, but no one around to enjoy it, you know? Kind of feeling like
Yikes.
humans were ghosts in a sense.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully I'm done and, you know, in the next place, whatever that is, if there is, yeah. All right, anything else that we can milk out of this for location? What are some other things? I know there's got to be some other nuggets. We did, wow, we're an hour and a half into this. That's good though. We had a lot more to say about it than I thought. Other than, I mean, here's the thing. I think we can sum it up like this. Locations are super important for the believability of what you're seeing. The better they are, whatever you want to load that better up with, makes the story more believable, I think. It's important in that kind of way. You know, whether it's practical or made up, you know, it has to work for the story, you know, in that kind of sense. Any other comments? I think we played this one out. Good topic. All right, so tune in next time, y'all. Take it easy.